Thanks for tuning in to the Vintage Cinema Review. On this week's episode, we're covering from 1954, Rear Window.
An absolute classic, in my opinion, and in many others. Alfred Hitchcock's best work.
Yeah, this took us back to when we were younger. We remember a lot of Alfred Hitchcock Presents, and it was done older and it was done new. And this guy is don't what do you say? Don't sleep on this guy.
Don't sleep on this guy.
I mean, he's a round person. It'd be hard to. But,
Right, that's right. Yeah, you'd keep rolling off.
True.
Yeah, this dude's great, man.
This is one that I had not seen, and I'm really glad I got to see this later in life here. Really enjoyed it. I think you will too, so definitely check this out before you listen to the review, because there's going to be spoilers. But we hope you enjoy it. Speaking of which, if you are, leave that 5-star rating, Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you're listening, and sit back, relax, and enjoy Rear Window. Hey, this is Dave.
Matt.
And Zap.
And welcome to the Vintage Cinema Review,
where every week we review some of our favorite films from the past.
Hey, there ain't no late fees here.
Silence is golden. And be kind. Rewind.
Hey, I guess tonight's the time to put in a favorite film from the past.
Yeah, Zap, what are you loading up?
Oh, tonight we've got a good one. We've got a classic. In my opinion, and in many others' opinion, Alfred Hitchcock's best. Tonight we're doing Rear Window.
Yeah, Rear Window.
Fantastic.
So this one kind of got spawned out of our last one, Pulp Fiction. We were talking about Hitchcock, and that's just how it happened. So I'm really glad that I never saw this movie. So
Never ever?
No.
Actually, that's odd because I remember, I don't know, it might have been like in high school, and I think it was on something. I don't know. It was one of them movie channels or whatever. And I remember seeing bits and pieces of it, and I was kind of like, this is so old.
Yeah.
Like, it just didn't look cool at the time. Like, there was a lot of, like, you could tell it was like a sound stage, things like that, like what they were trying to portray. And I was never really like into it, but I think this was the first time I actually sat down and took a minute, grabbed some popcorn and stuff and sat and watched the movie. And it was great.
Yeah, I came up with this.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being very, very young and watching this. Like, this is one of my, I know for a fact, one of my mom's favorites. And I mean, whenever this was on, like, she was glued. And this is back in the day. I mean, you had, a handful of channels at best.
I'm well aware of Alfred Hitchcock. I mean, obviously, I think most people are, but I always remember him from, like, did he have a television show? Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
Yep.
And obviously, I'm aware of Psycho. And
There's actually 2 iterations of that show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was the original one, the OG one, where he was younger, and it was all black and white. And then later on, I want to say in the 90s,
Oh, they redid it?
they rebooted it.
I rebooted it?
Yep.
They're saying actually his silhouette is one of the most recognized, or if somebody sees that silhouette from his show.
From the show. Yep.
Well, I can hear the theme song in my head.
Yeah, that was very cool. Very cool.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, they used to come on, I think after the news on Saturday night on, I don't know what channel, if you had cable.
Yeah, right before Dance Fever.
Was this?
Is that what it was?
No,
Dance Fever?
No.
I have no idea.
This came out. The second iteration of it came out. The one that we would have seen. This was out well after Dance Fever went away, because Dance Fever came on after Sha Na Na.
Oh, wow.
okay.
Sha Na Na. Yeah.
So
Who was that guy on Sha Na Na? Bowser. Yeah, that's right.
Bo, 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 bo. Bo, 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 bo.
All right, so let's get into this. Rear Window, 1954, rated PG, which I don't know, they didn't have rated R back then. Or
I didn't know they had ratings, period, back then.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they rated it later.
It was very in the realms of PG. I mean, it's you can watch this with anybody.
With anybody, yeah.
There's no bad swears. There's no porn. There's no nothing like
Nothing
that.
like that.
There's a little stuff that's called what do you call that? Like
suspense.
There is suspense, but like you had the ballet dancer girl,
like you saw her undo her top. From the behind
but I mean, like sensuality. I think they would call that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tobacco chewing.
Yeah, that type of stuff.
Tobacco smoking.
Right.
There's nothing that. I mean, if you have a kid around 10, 11, 12, good movie.
So this is listed as a thriller mystery. It says here, and 1 hour 52-minute runtime, directed by Alfred Hitchcock.
It is a longer movie.
Yeah, Yeah, I thought
But
it was. I thought it was a good.
It doesn't seem long.
No, not at all. Much like Pulp Fiction, to me, it went by pretty quick. Screenplay by John Michael Hayes, and based on It Had to Be Murder, which was a dime detective. It's a 1942 story, but that was by Cornell Woolrich. But I'm sure we'll get into it in the fun facts. But there might have been some other inspiration for this.
Might have been.
There should have been some more 40s, I think, detective talk in this one. Like,
Yeah,
like,
so-
yeah, look here.
Let me tell you something.
I'm gonna catch him. See, look out the window. See.
But there wasn't really much detective work in this.
Well, there's the one
guy.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's like I thought like even Jimmy Stewart would sound more. I don't know. I never really like paid attention to what Jimmy Stewart sounded like. But
Right.
He's just regular. I thought it was more like a like that, but it's not.
You've heard someone doing a bad impression of it.
I think so. Like they did it on Saturday Night Live or something like that.
There was
So
actually
I always thought that was like Jimmy Stewart, but it's apparently not.
Sounds like Jimmy Jumbles.
Yep.
It sounds like a hitman's name.
Yeah.
So this was produced by, as well as directed by, Alfred Hitchcock. The release date on this, September 1st, 1954 in the United States.
We weren't born yet.
We were not born yet. The budget on this, $1 million. Box office, $37 million.
God damn.
For back in the day, I mean,
That's some good money.
Well, $1 million to spend on a movie is, I mean, the soundstage alone, the thing that they built, because there's not really much to it, but I think that's where all the money went.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was wild. When I found that out, and we're
Yeah.
going to get into that.
Yeah,
I couldn't.
sure will.
I couldn't believe that. And as far as where this was filmed, basically filmed at a studio, so it wasn't really, on location anywhere.
no.
Anything like. We'll get into that in the fun facts. We'll leave that for the fun facts. So that's all I have for that fun stuff in the beginning. I guess we'll turn it over to Zap with the cast.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as we had already spoken about, we've got James Stewart as L.B. Jeffries, Grace Kelly as Lisa Carol Fremont.
Oh, Lisa. She is an attractive.
Shit, yeah.
Like, I think women should watch this. I'm not being like sexist or anything like that, but I think that the way
She's
even
a
men,
lady, man. She presents herself as a fucking lady.
but the way she dressed is like she just looked fine.
yeah.
25.
And I think even guys, like, it wouldn't be even bad like we wore suits all the time and stuff
Yeah.
either.
No.
It looks sharp, man.
I miss those days. I miss wearing a suit every day.
Because every girl's crazy
Uh-huh.
about a sharp dressed man.
They sure are. Thelma Ritter as Stella. Wendell Corey as NYPD Detective Lieutenant Thomas J. Doyle. Raymond Burr as Lars Thorwald. Irene Winston as Ms. Anna Thorwald. Judith Evelyn as Miss Lonelyheart. Georgine Darcy as Miss Torso. Jesslyn Fax as Miss Hearing Aid. Ross Bagdasarian as the composer. Rand Harper and Havis Davenport as the two newlyweds. And Sarah Berner and Frank Caddy as the couple with the dog who live above the Thorwalds.
Now, see, as Zap's naming these characters, if you would watch the movie, which you really should, he's saying what a person would call these people looking out of a New York City type apartment into these places that you have no idea who these people
Just
are.
making up names for them.
Yeah, because I mean, even in today's world, like the voyeuristic aspect of this movie, where we live in neighborhoods sometimes, and there isn't some, you're not being perverted or anything in any way, but sometimes you like look over in like somebody's backyard, or if you're sitting on your porch, because the houses we have are close, not as close as like living in New York or anything like that.
Right.
But I think a lot of people today, I mean, you just are brought up with, like, you see, or sometimes you hear stuff in the summertime and everybody's windows are open, like somebody yelling at their kids, or like a couple arguing, or I mean, you see and hear that stuff. And I think that this movie is so relevant from then till today, because it really shows that like not much
changed.
Yeah, not much at all.
Not at all. So that's it for the cast. Matt, you got a brief synopsis?
Yeah, actually I do. From the director whose name means suspense comes a thriller whose name evokes terror. None of Hitchcock's films has ever given a clearer view of his genius for suspense than Rear Window. When professional photographer J.B. Jeffries, James Stewart, is confined to a wheelchair with a broken leg, he becomes obsessed with watching the private dramas of his neighbors play out across the courtyard. When he suspects a salesman may have murdered his nagging wife, Jeffries enlists the help of his glamorous socialite girlfriend, Grace Kelly, to investigate the highly suspicious chains of events. These events ultimately lead to one of the most memorable and gripping endings in all of film history. Ladies and gentlemen, Rear Window.
Nice.
That was a good synopsis.
I like that.
That was good.
That was
I
concise.
like those. Yeah, I like those ones.
I miss those days.
Yeah.
Grace Kelly.
Well, I mean, she was good enough to marry the Prince of Monaco.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
that was,
with it, yes.
Was that not long after this movie she was made, or during this movie? Was she married by then, or do you know? I was just curious because I did hear about that.
She wasn't married to him by now.
Okay.
No, not yet.
Because I know she was like 25, they said.
I mean, he probably saw this movie and he was like, bathe her.
I got to have it.
And bring her to me.
Yeah, probably.
That's what I would say.
Sure.
She was stunning for sure.
For sure.
So, Zap, I guess it's time to steer us through this masterpiece.
Take us down the old, the masterpiece. I like that.
Yeah.
Let's go for a walkthrough.
This is Old Dirty Basement Masterpiece Theater.
Masterpiece Theater, yeah.
So we begin with a panoramic scrolling view of a courtyard in Greenwich Village, Manhattan, surrounded on all sides by the backs of brownstones and apartment buildings. It's a hot summer day. Temps are in the mid-90s. We're introduced to L.B. Jeff Jeffries, a professional photographer who's recuperating from a broken leg and is temporarily confined to a wheelchair. He's one short week away from the removal of his cast. While confined to his wheelchair, he's had little to do besides look out his window, the rear window of the building in which he lives, observing the goings-on of all of the other neighbors whose windows and apartments abut the courtyard.
And I think when you were talking about that, like if you do see the movie, just that whole part, like Dave was saying, it's kind of odd to think that was just a soundstage or like how they made that up.
They built it like that. It was pretty impressive for me. I was impressed by the set design for 1954. Just that $1 million would even go that far.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we're talking 1954. But yeah, it was impressive.
And in this movie, like Hitchcock made it so simple that you said the $1 million, that was all on the buildings.
Seamless.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly did not know that was a soundstage until we picked this to review, and I found that fun fact. I thought this was filmed in
Greenwich Village.
In Greenwich Village, in somewhere in New York.
Mm-hmm. One scene I really liked in the beginning that kind of caught my attention because I don't usually watch older movies. I'm not really a fan. I mean, I'll watch ones that people always say you need to see this. At some time I'll watch it. I was really impressed with the filming style and stuff, and it really made me appreciate that how this guy influenced so many filmmakers. When we brought it up in Pulp Fiction, obviously that Quentin Tarantino took a scene from Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho and put it in his movie. But watching how he filmed, basically with the camera panning into the apartment, and it kind of told a story almost about
without saying a word.
It was like, wow, that's like ahead of its time. But it's just who the guy was, I guess. He was just that talented of a producer, director, or whatever.
Yeah.
And another thing for the people watching, I think I had I got it on Prime Video, but they had a setting to go to, like, it had natural or something like that. The way the movie was, I forget what the setting was. Mm-hmm. So it had the one that like took out the graininess or whatever, but I watched it in the way that it was filmed, and it just added to the
ambiance.
Yeah,
the
ambiance.
texture.
Mm-hmm. The texture, yeah.
Jeff's insurance company nurse, Stella, who's been caring for him during the time of his ailment, gently reminds him that there's more to life than staring at his neighbors, and that doing so for too long can lead to trouble. Jeff and Stella also discuss his love life and his socialite girlfriend, Lisa Fremont. Jeff fears that the lifestyle of a photographer might not be best for a woman such as Lisa. Stella insists that he marry her. They're in love, and why shouldn't they be married? Coincidentally, as he's observing his courtyard, he observes a newlywed couple moving into their first apartment together as the husband carries his wife over the threshold.
Oh, they draw the shades on that.
Yeah.
Oh, they sure did.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned that Grace Kelly was 25 at the time?
Yeah.
Do you know how old Jimmy Stewart was at the time?
76.
Stop.
137. No.
7 years old now.
I think he was like late 40s, right?
He was 46 years old.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Just got to sit there and mac out on Grace Kelly.
Mm-hmm. And it was funny, like how he was kind of like not. I mean, he was into her, but he's kind of like.
Well, see, that's the whole thing. Like, I thought that was, like I said, sitting down and watching that movie. I thought when Grace Kelly was introduced, he was dreaming. Did you guys not?
No.
No.
All right. For me, I was like, is
No,
this
that's
real?
only because I'd seen it since I'm a kid.
Okay,
Yeah.
so when I was watching it, when she first came in, because remember he falls asleep looking out at the courtyard, checking things out.
Yeah.
And he kind of like comes to, and there's this beautiful lady there kissing him. And I was like, oh, so he's talking to this lady on, like, I thought he was dreaming.
He does like Fast Times.
Yeah,
like in the bathroom jerking off.
I thought the guy, because I was like, there's no way this dude's pulling her.
Yeah.
And then she was like this big, I thought she was the lady that was on like, on the magazines, like this big socialite.
She is.
Yeah, but I didn't think that. I thought.
Yeah, you have to, the suspended disbelief here.
Mm-hmm. There was a big age difference, but looking at her, like how we'll sure talk about how she dressed and all that, and you mentioned earlier, she looked older to me, not by like her face or anything like that, but just how she kind of presented herself. So I didn't really notice as much the age difference until I looked it up and saw that there was a big age. Now, obviously, I feel like he looks older than, to me, like older than 46, but I think a lot of it is just the time.
Just the time.
And the way
we've talked about
just
that
the way
too.
they dressed and looked. Yeah.
The way they dressed, they used alcohol-based aftershave, like fucking Aqua Velva. They're splashed on their face, which is going to age your skin.
Right.
Everybody was drinking. Everybody was smoking, so that's going to age you.
Right.
Yeah, whatever. Life was hard back then. But yeah, I agree. She was certainly a mature 25-year-old.
Yeah.
Like, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that evening, Lisa arrives at his apartment, awakening him from a nap. She's brought dinner for him. Not just dinner, but lobster thermidor with pommes frites a la Julienne.
Palm to who?
Yeah.
Delivered by a waiter from the famous 21 Club restaurant who sets everything up for them.
That's what I'm telling you. This shit didn't look real. Like, I thought the whole thing was like this
Like a
dream
dream.
sequence. Like, dude just wakes. I mean, you've seen the dude. The dude's 76 years old.
It's a man's world.
Sitting
man.
in a beat ass wheelchair, leg all jacked up, and this lady's kissing on him. Some dude comes in and like waiter, and then you said the thermidor shit.
Yeah.
I thought the shit was. I didn't think it was real. That whole part of I was like, wow, this is cool. Like, dream sequence. And I'm like, wait, is that shit real?
Look, man,
it was real.
This is as Jewish as it gets.
This is real.
Israel.
Real time.
Israel.
It's real.
That's cool.
But don't.
We learn a little bit about Lisa's lifestyle. She comes from money and knows only a life of socializing and high fashion. Lisa undoubtedly loves Jeff. She wishes nothing but the best for him. Desperately, she suggests every idea possible for him to leave the magazine and become a freelance photographer, enabling him to be home more and to not have to travel to distant countries or random assignments in God knows where.
That's how he got his leg jacked up.
Yeah.
I think a car hit him on some assignment that he was on.
Yep.
That's in that beginning panning scene. They panned to the photo. I think it was at like Monaco or something, and you see the car midair and it's falling, and he got the picture, but he got jacked up. But you see this guy's all over the world probably taking pictures and stuff.
Yep.
And again, what Dave was saying is like she was so into him, like throwing himself at him. He was like, I didn't get that part either.
So
like
that's the only part I didn't understand, is that this guy has this incredibly gorgeous, amazing woman who just would do anything for him. And he's just like, yeah, well, whatever. I like photography.
Yeah.
or like, hey, you're blocking my view. I'm trying to see what's going on in the courtyard there. What are you
Sir,
doing?
You are a dumb ass.
Yeah.
That's when just men mature then, I guess, and they're just kind of like,
Yeah.
their interests and stuff. Maybe that's too, like, you play hard to get. That's what I was kind of thinking too. It's like, nice guys finish last type deal. You know what I mean? Like, I'll play hard to get. Like, I could take it or leave it. And she makes her want him more. Like, if he was all over, like, baby, come back. No, you know.
But I don't even think he like based up with her at all. I don't think there was any kind of romanticism going on, like a couple smooches here and there, but the guy was like, my leg.
Maybe there was more.
My leg's hurting.
Maybe there was more than his leg in that cast.
Ooh.
Size it, I think.
She's like, I just need to get that cast.
Man.
Yeah.
Could have been.
Oh, man. Crazy.
Well, we soon get into the mind of Jeff as he describes all of the neighbors he's been watching these past 7 weeks. The first neighbor, whom he refers to as Miss Lonelyheart, is dining alone, though pretending she's got company. Next, we're introduced to Miss Torso, an aspiring dancer who regularly hosts groups of would-be suitors in her apartment, the queen bee with the pick of her drones. Next, we see a scene of a man, a salesman by trade, providing dinner to his bedridden invalid wife while she lays in waiting. Next, we see a composer who lives alone, working on a piece on his piano. After their meal, Jeff and Lisa discuss the tenets of photography business. Lisa believes it to be a simple life, not unlike being on a constant vacation and traveling from one place to the next. Jeff, however, describes all of the less than desirable aspects of the businesses: the risks, the lousy locations, bad food, etc. It comes down to Jeff's inability to stay affixed in New York because of his work, and his convincing Lisa that she'd be terribly unhappy traveling with him for work. Ultimately, it's as though he's trying to talk himself out of her and a future together. Lisa departs, clearly upset as a result of their argument. While pondering his life and looking out at the now dark courtyard and apartment landscape with all of the lights out for the night, a loud scream from a woman is heard, along with the sound of a glass shattering, but nothing can be seen. Again, all tenants in the visible apartments have turned in for the night, and all lights are out. Hours later, Jeff awakens in the middle of the night, still in his wheelchair, still looking out at the apartment and courtyard landscape. He sees one of his neighbors, a man, leaving his apartment wearing a raincoat and carrying a large metal suitcase. It's the salesman who delivered dinner to his wife in bed earlier. All of the lights are on in the couple's apartment, but all of the shades are closed. Seems odd for a salesman to be out and about at 2 a.m. Nearly an hour later, Jeff, who's remained awake, observes the salesman return to his apartment, still in his raincoat, still carrying the metal suitcase. He also sees the pianist return to his apartment, clearly intoxicated. Nonetheless, minutes later, the salesman once again leaves his apartment with raincoat on and suitcase in hand, while all the lights in his apartment remain on with all of the shades still closed.
So, maybe we get that pianist to do our theme, our fun facts theme. You could use something like that.
She was intoxicated by his smooth jam that he kept playing.
Yeah. There was a cool scene too. A cool scene. There was a what do you call it? Cameo there with Hitchcock, winding the clock.
Yep.
Yeah. That was cool.
It's a fun fact.
That's right. That is absolutely a fun fact.
I thought that was cool. Like him looking in all the different and like kind of
like a voyeurist. Yeah,
right,
that was really cool. And how like the characters, like I said earlier, he just named them based on because he knows nothing about these people, even though they live a courtyard across from each other.
Mm-hmm.
But Stella's character, also the nurse that's helping take care of him, becomes like a main character in this movie, and I really liked her.
She was cool.
Relationship with him.
Yeah, and she was probably more closer to his age.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
Yes.
And then you're looking at
what were they trying to like portray him to be? Like in his early 30s? Or?
No, I think he was probably.
No idea.
I mean, I would assume he's the age he was. I don't know though. I mean, maybe
he was a popular actor. People knew what he was.
Yeah,
right. So you weren't really fooling anybody, but yeah,
true.
But I thought that was cool, like looking in on everybody's life and the fact that this movie's taking place like almost from one location so far. Maybe it'll change, but it kept me interested. I was into it.
Yeah, they didn't have to do much. No. And I think that's they say that's the genius of Hitchcock, and he really doesn't show like any gore or like Zap said, you heard the scream and like a crash or like something breaking, and it's like could be anything. And I think the way that he directs and the way that he like writes or does these things with the way he films is just genius.
Sometimes your imagination does better than what they'll portray in a movie.
Well, surely something strange is afoot. Jeff briefly falls asleep again. When he awakens, he once again sees the salesman return to his apartment with raincoat on and suitcase in hand. By now, the light in the salesman and his wife's bedroom has been turned off. The next morning, while Jeff sleeps, we see the salesman leave his apartment with a woman dressed in black. This time, he's carrying a much smaller suitcase, something meant for only one person with a few days of travel at best. The goings-on of the neighbors continue in their normal fashion, just another day in the courtyard. Stella, the insurance company nurse, visits Jeff for his daily routine and massage. Jeff expresses his concern over what he'd seen the night before relative to the salesman and his late night coming and going from the apartment with the large suitcase. Lo and behold, the shades have been opened in the salesman apartment. Jeff observes the salesman look down into the courtyard, scowling at a small dog who's sniffing around a flower bed he, the salesman, maintains. Stella departs Jeff's apartment, and Jeff returns to his voyeurism and his focus on the neighboring salesman.
Now, is this where he got into his, he started using the lens on his...
The extension or whatever.
The extension, or is he just on the
we're almost
binoculars
there.
right there?
We are almost. Like
okay.
You're right there, man. It's like you've seen this movie.
Just seen it.
Just saw it.
So, Now armed with a pair of binoculars, Jeff observes the salesman wiping out the inside of a large metal suitcase and subsequently packing what appears to be a large collection of jewelry into it. Binoculars help Jeff to observe a little closer, but it doesn't seem to be close enough. A photographer by trade, he's got plenty of long view lenses in his arsenal. Now, armed with ample lens power, he returns to observing the salesman just in time to see him wrapping a handsaw and large machete-sized knife in newspaper, only moments before the salesman lays down for a nap.
So the one was a handsaw? I thought they were two knives, so one was a handsaw.
Handsaw,
Okay.
knife.
And it was weird, like this fixation on the salesman, because what he was like right across or diagonally across.
Yep.
But he just kind of focused in on like the wife being there, and then she was gone, and then like people were going in and out, and he's just like, man, this guy's up to something.
Yeah.
It definitely had you thinking, like, is this guy crazy? What he's looking at? Is he on to something? You know, this and that.
Is he seeing things?
Is he
This is
seeing
just,
things?
yeah, you can make up anything.
And when he was cleaning the knife, I think he pulled out like a newspaper.
Yep.
That's the part you're talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, it definitely raised suspicion for me. At that point, I'm like, that's kind of weird.
Indeed.
Yeah.
That evening, the scene of the courtyard remains as consistent as ever. All of the neighbors are doing their typical things. We even see the cute little dog who'd been sniffing around the flower bed return to his basket in order to be elevated back up to the third-story apartment where it lives.
That's exactly how you explained it.
I thought that was so
That was cool.
by the way.
Yeah.
How do they... so, look, I've seen a lot of dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And God damn it, one of these
You
days, I'm going to get a dog.
Yeah, you get like 3 feet off, the dog would want to jump out.
Jump off.
Yeah. How did they train that dog to stay into that basket?
It's Hollywood, man.
Get in the
Fair.
basket. Put the lotion in the basket.
It
You know,
puts
that's
the lotion on. It puts the lotion in the basket.
Precious.
Stay off.
Did Precious get in the
You
basket?
give me back my goddamn dog.
That's right.
Be a
Did
good
Precious ride in the basket in that?
Yeah, he had to put
No,
he threw
Precious
the basket
jumped
down.
down.
That's right.
Precious, whomever the woman that was down there
Mhm.
said, "Come here, dog. Come here, dog." And the dog got
jumped
to
out.
the edge and it jumped
Fell. Oh, okay.
or fell or did some shit. Yeah.
And she like pulled it with the basket or something.
Right.
Like, she had the basket up there. And
Yeah. There you go.
I'm sure those dogs are probably trained to know. Or maybe they just know naturally, don't jump out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You could die.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a stunt dog.
Could have
Maybe.
been.
Continue.
Lisa has returned to visit Jeff. Still troubled with the previous night's goings-on, Jeff recounts the story of the salesman to her. As far as he's concerned, he's seen something, or at least he thinks he's seen something. Something of a terribly unsavory nature. He fears the worst for the neighboring salesman's wife. Lisa, desperate to convince Jeff that he's just seeing things coincidental in nature,
She thinks he's nuts.
Yep.
Because he's 97 years old.
gives him every possible reason or explanation to prove he's wrong. Just as she and Jeff observe the salesman, now in his and his wife's bedroom, with a large trunk wrapped and tied with rope, with the mattress on the bed now rolled up and awaiting disposal. No wife to be seen. Lisa is officially convinced of Jeff's concerns.
She's on board now, huh?
Yeah, she's all in.
You can see where it strikes her fancy. She's all like, oh.
Mm.
Yeah. And all of a sudden she was all in.
Mm-hmm. That night, Jeff has dispatched Lisa to do some reconnaissance. She's obtained the name of the salesman, Lars Thorwald. And while conveying this to Jeff over the phone, Jeff observes old Thorwald sitting alone in his apartment, smoking a cigar, in the dark, with not a glisten of light in the apartment except the glowing embers of the tobacco.
That was cool looking.
Yeah.
But I think he was looking just right at them.
Mm-hmm.
The next day, we find Jeff on the phone with New York Police Detective Lieutenant Tom Doyle, relaying the Thorwald story to him. Despite showing little interest, Doyle agrees to visit Jeff later to make some observations of his own. With Stella, the insurance company nurse, on site at Jeff's apartment as per usual, she and Jeff see two movers arrive at Thorwald's apartment to take the trunk he'd bound with rope. Try though she may, she's not able to discern the name of the movers before they depart. Later, Detective Doyle arrives at Jeff's apartment. Without having seen the murder or a body, Jeff can't convince him to believe his speculation of foul play involving Thorwald and his wife.
I wonder what Officer Vince, he probably would have been more receptive coming in.
Look,
you know what I mean?
Officer Vince is a hero.
That's right. He would have known. This movie would have been over. I know he would have had it.
Oh, also the Chief is a hero.
Oh, Chief Darryl for sure.
Chief Darryl's a hero.
Two heroes.
Definitely. Either one of them guys. This movie's a half hour.
At least they're on it.
They're on it.
22-minute movie.
Yeah, basically. And Officer Vince would have got Gene Kelly too. Probably there.
Grace Kelly.
Okay. Gene Kelly.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Officer Vince, he didn't mean that.
I meant Grace Kelly. I'm sorry.
Officer Vince is all that is man.
That is right.
Who the hell's Gene Kelly?
I don't know.
Gene Kelly, he's a dancer.
I thought it was no.
Oh yeah,
Gene Kelly. Yeah.
Detective Doyle relents somewhat and agrees to do some digging on his own. As Doyle departs, Jeff observes that pesky little dog digging around Thorwald's flower bed.
That's like a little. What kind of dog is that? It was like one of them little.
It was a tiny dog. I don't know.
Yeah, what
exactly.
are they called? Like I don't know.
A Shih Tzu.
A Shih Tzu, yeah, maybe something like that size.
Like a Shih Tzu, yeah.
You're not lowering a German Shepherd or something big like that down there.
Like a small
Great Dane,
Highland Terrier, maybe.
Yeah,
small little John.
A small dog.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, if you're listening to this, you've seen the movie.
And if you haven't, don't sleep on that.
Do not.
This is actually one of the ones I think that we could grasp a lot of people to go out and actually see and sit down and watch the movie, because a lot of them we talk about people have seen, so they don't go back usually to watch it again.
Oh, I saw it years ago.
Yeah. But this one I think people would sit and be like, I don't even know much about that. I want to check it out.
Yep.
Later, Doyle returns to Jeff's apartment to inform him of what he's uncovered. According to Doyle, Thorwald has been on 6 months' leave from work to care for his wife. He's just an average guy who pays his bills timely from the earnings he derives as a costume jewelry salesman.
Thus the jewelry.
He and his wife keep to themselves, not making many acquaintances. She was prone to never leaving the apartment until yesterday morning at 6 a.m., where, according to the building superintendent and 2 neighbors, she was escorted by Thorwald to the train station. And finally, a postcard was sent to Thorwald yesterday afternoon, with the sender being his wife, Anna, informing him that she'd arrived safely and is already feeling better.
Didn't J.B. Stewart, wasn't he saying that?
J.B. Stewart.
No, but wasn't he saying that like the wife's sickly or something like that, and like she didn't leave or she couldn't leave because she was bedridden?
She's bedridden. Yeah.
It didn't seem that she was bedridden from what he was. I don't know. That part seemed weird. Like I know she didn't leave the house at all, but maybe she was sick or.
I mean, she would from time to time get out of bed, like because she would get up, and I remember there was a point in that movie where when she was still visible, she went out to check on Thorwald, who was sitting in the room next to her, and like he was on the phone. And she went out like she might have been all looped up on goofballs or some shit.
Yeah. She would walk around with the satin silkies on. No, but like. Yeah, she didn't have like a regular like I'm going out outfit.
No, hell no, she doesn't go out.
Yeah, she wore like the satiny whatever,
like Mrs. Roper.
Yeah, the ladies wear the nightgowns.
Remember
purple silky.
Mrs. Roper, she'd always wear that.
Yes,
Three's Company.
Oh yeah,
she might have just been lazy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, laying around.
She
like
was
depressed.
I think she might have been the wait. Are you saying Mrs. Roper or the?
No, this lady in the movie.
This could have been.
Yeah,
could have been.
But Mrs. Roper, what about her?
I was going to say I think she was the inspiration for many Walmart shoppers.
Oh yeah,
for show.
Jeff
remains convinced that Thorwald is up to no good. Still, he's unable to convince Detective Doyle. That evening, we're back to the same scene of all the neighbors carrying on in their same daily routines. The dog is lowered down into the courtyard via its basket elevator to do its business. Ms. Lonely Heart goes out for a night on the town, alone.
That's why she's Lonely Heart.
Yeah.
The pianist is hosting a cocktail party. Ms. Torso practices her dancing, and Thorwald returns to his apartment with freshly cleaned laundry, looking as though he's packing his things to travel somewhere. So this thing where the pianist is hosting a little cocktail party,
right?
This is the one where the cameo with
Hitchcock,
because they're winding the clock.
Okay, I got you.
Jeff watches Thorwald make a long-distance call. While on the call, we see Thorwald rummaging through his wife's purse. Odd that his wife didn't take her purse with her, no? What's even more odd is seeing Thorwald removing his wife's wedding ring from the purse.
I thought it was cool, too, how he said, long-distance phone call again, just by seeing, how many
dials.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
I was like, how does he... Oh, I get it. because you wouldn't even think of anything like that today.
True. You're right. I like that.
That long distance, it's all inclusive now.
That's what I mean.
It's just, everything is 10 digits anymore.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when somebody's like, do, he's like, oh, long distance phone call.
Indeed.
Just thought that stood out.
That pianist is part. I look like cool spot.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like this, I like seeing those old school parties like that. Like,
Hell
you know
yeah.
what I mean,
With women coming with dogs. Like, when does that happen?
I don't know, like,
ladies walking in with dogs. Everybody's all dressed up.
yeah.
This would be like a cocktail party like these days, but I don't even see that.
There was a commercial like on the radio in the beginning that kind of referenced that guy's probably in his 40s, and there was something on the radio, and he went over and shut the radio off, turned it off. I forget exactly what the ad. I was like, oh, this guy's probably in his 40s, like a bachelor kind of.
Oh, no, it said, are you a young man in your 40s? It was like,
it's like, so it was the low T commercial for its day.
Low testosterone.
Low testosterone commercial for its day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Are you over
sluggish?
40? Do you feel sluggish? And yes,
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why he was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah,
He was like, I don't want to hear that. I get the
shit.
ladies.
Yeah.
So all the time.
Gentlemen, the low testosterone thing is not just a recent discovery.
It's been back then.
It's been going on since the 50s.
That guy was playing piano with no hands back then. You know what I mean? He didn't need those pills.
He said before.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Lisa arrives at Jeff's apartment just in time to see Thorwald leave his apartment. She's since become fully committed to believing Jeff's theory on Thorwald, giving him every element of support. She also believes that the woman who'd left Thorwald's apartment at 6 a.m. the day before couldn't have been Mrs. Thorwald. What sort of woman leaves to go on a trip without her wedding ring? And let's not forget, the Thorwalds kept to themselves these many years. The neighbors and superintendent have never seen or met her. Sure, a woman left Thorwald's apartment yesterday morning with him, but according to Lisa, it wasn't Mrs. Thorwald.
This is Lisa with the purse theory. Is this where she said that, or is this
this is what she said.
Yeah,
she said, what kind of woman leaves without her purse? 2, leaves without her wedding ring.
Yeah, because a woman always has her favorite purse. It goes with her wherever she does. She keeps it on her bedside because it has everything in it that she needs.
Yep.
And then she's not going to take it. That's not her.
Yeah, something's not right.
Yeah, he left with some woman, not her.
Wasn't her.
Lisa's no dummy. She's appealing to her boyfriend's best interests. She loves this man and will do anything for him. She's decided to spend the night at Jeff's as a show of ongoing support.
Mm-hmm. He still didn't hit it.
That was
easy.
back in the 50s, too. That's
yeah.
Like
That's
taboo.
gay.
Scandalous.
Yeah.
No, but they were showing Lisa's character was very like she was very sexual. She was very open. She was very before her time.
yeah.
In that movie.
Yeah.
She knew what she wanted. She went for it.
Yeah, you're right.
Jimmy Stewart was a punk.
He was playing like hard to get.
He was. It worked.
It did, man.
Did it?
Obviously. She stuck around and kept coming
Did
back.
it? Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But he's all casted up.
What up? Fine.
He gets that cast off. He's going to be a problem.
Yeah. Things are going away. His one leg isn't going to be as strong.
That's right.
I can't move my legs. You don't need your legs.
No.
He could have just said, move.
Just lay there.
Get a chair.
True.
Come on, Jimmy.
Cut a hole in that cast.
Detective Doyle arrives.
How's he poop?
Good question.
The cast only went up to his the bendy part.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like all the way up to his waist.
Yeah, that's what it looked. The one time when he stood up, it kind of was like a. It did. It looked. We got to go back and watch that part of the movie. He had it. Yeah, it was like
It was
up,
way up to. I see what you're saying,
around,
because
yeah.
it looked like he was wearing like the old man like wrestling.
Yes,
type.
yes.
Yeah.
This was like kind of like a chastity belt type thing with like he had a hole there. Or
I don't
something.
know. I think you can get around the junk in the butt without.
True.
You're just looking to stabilize.
Yeah, he had Stella coming and taking care of whatever he missed. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, she was there.
Celebrities don't shit, I guess.
that's fair.
That's what we learned.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Don't, apparently not.
Yeah.
That has to hurt.
Detective Doyle arrives, and Jeff and Lisa bring him up to speed on Thorwald, the packing for the trip, his wife's jewelry, everything. Doyle remains unconvinced. He's since found the trunk that had been sent by the movers. It was filled with Ms. Thorwald's clothes, nothing out of the ordinary. And, according to reports, the trunk was received by Ms. Anna Thorwald at her country retreat destination. Jeff and Lisa aren't fazed a bit. They remain determined in their theory on Thorwald. Meanwhile, Ms. Lonely Heart has returned to her apartment with a potential suitor.
Mm.
But oh no, this guy only has one thing in mind, and Ms. Lonelyheart is not about to give up her virtue that easily.
Right.
She swiftly kicks him out of her apartment.
Yeah, he came on her a little too strong.
He looked real young.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He knew what he was going for. And, yeah. He was a little rapey.
Yeah.
A little rapey.
Yeah.
But I think she invited him back, and, you know, she had everything going and a little kissy poo. And
And he called her a tease because she's slapping him around saying, no.
Mm-hmm. She was just looking for...
You can look, but don't touch.
Right.
And we didn't even know her whole story. Apparently, like, her husband died or something. She was a lonely heart.
Did her husband die?
And I'm saying that's kind of like the feeling I got. Like,
maybe
she
she was
somebody,
just what's it called? Spinstress?
No, she was
spinster.
No, but she had that whole thing. Like,
spinster.
no, but she was like, or maybe just like a hardcore drunk. But she had like the plate set. Like, no, she did. She like had these conversations. Yeah, like I think she was missing somebody,
or imagining what life could be.
But she wasn't a bad looking older woman. She could have. I mean, it took one night at the bar.
Yeah, she got some
to bring home the guy.
In these apartments that we're seeing in the movie, there's no audio from any of it. You're just seeing visuals and trying to read lips and trying to make out and basically
putting your own stories together.
You're basing your opinion probably on what Jimmy Stewart's saying and what they're talking about, you know, in some respects.
Genius of Hitchcock.
It was
because all this stuff is in your mind.
There's a lot at the end here I want to talk about. Yeah, I just thought it was awesome.
Absolutely. Back to Jeff and Lisa. After a brief exchange, Lisa changes into her nightgown. Not long after her return, a horrible scream is heard from the courtyard area. It's Thorwald's upstairs neighbor, the woman and her husband who own the cute little dog who've been sniffing around Thorwald's flower bed. Well, the dog has been killed, strangled with its neck broken.
Why, may you ask? Find out.
I didn't ask.
Why? Why could it be?
The lifeless dog is placed into the elevator basket by a caring neighbor, and as it's slowly lifted back to the apartment from whence it came, the heartbroken owner cries and berates the entire makeshift neighborhood of tenants around the courtyard, wondering who could have killed her poor defenseless dog. It's at this time when Jeff's resolve is at its strongest. He notices that while all of the neighbors came to their windows and fire escapes to see what was the matter when the woman screamed and blindly berated everyone in listening distance for being lousy neighbors, the only one who didn't appear at the window was Thorwald.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But indeed, Matt, why would Thorwald want to kill a little dog?
I don't know. I didn't say Thorwald. But that was a bad, like the little dog stunt double, that was like a wrapped up towel or something. That was horrible.
Didn't look good.
That was a bad look, whoever was in charge of that.
They spent all their money on the set.
I know, I'm saying it's a bad look. It was a towel.
Yeah, it was like a mop.
Yeah, I was like, that's horrible.
Yeah,
come on, people.
Definitely more of a yeah. The next evening, Lisa and Stella, the insurance company nurse, are sharing time with Jeff in his apartment, observing Thorwald's every move.
Well, they're on to him now.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, back to that dog scene. That was very, very cool. How they just showed that cigar. Like y'all just saw was the light from the cigar, and that got all the lights are off in his apartment.
It's black in there, absolutely black, and all you see is that burning tobacco at the end of that cigar.
That was like a cool, very cool
shit.
scene.
Absolutely, man. Jeff makes a eureka discovery. He'd taken a picture of Thorwald's flower bed a couple of weeks earlier, having nothing but time on his hands and being a photographer by trade. Since the time of that photo, a few of the flowers in Thorwald's flower bed are shorter than they'd been 2 weeks earlier. Since when do flowers grow shorter? Something's got to be buried in that flower bed. Jeff comes up with an idea to scare Thorwald. He's written a note to him, with the look of a ransom note with no sender information, asking him what he's done with his wife. That night, Lisa is sent to slide that note under Thorwald's door. Thorwald receives the note and continues with his packing, though he is assuredly spooked. After almost being discovered by Thorwald, Lisa returns to Jeff's apartment, and they continue to observe Thorwald. Lisa and Stella decide that they have to investigate that flower bed, and they have to find out what sort of jewelry has been left in Mrs. Thorwald's purse. Jeff finds Thorwald's phone number in the phone book and calls him, threatens to expose him, and arranges a meeting between the two as a tactic to get Thorwald out of his apartment and away from the area. Jeff certainly isn't going to any meeting, but it's hopefully going to be enough time for Lisa and Stella to go digging into that flower bed and find what may be buried there. Thorwald swiftly leaves his apartment, and Lisa and Stella spring into action. Now think about this, right? So this guy, this boy, or this Jimmy Stewart, just gets in his head, you know what? Forget it. Forget about it. I'm just going to write a note. I'm going to threaten this guy. I got a 50-50 shot. Maybe he's just going to look at it and say, what the hell is this all about? Or maybe it's really going to get his goat, and I'm going to be able to, I've seen what you've done.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to lose in that.
Yeah, nothing to lose.
Because you think if the guy is guilty of something, if he's not guilty, maybe he'll blow it off. It's one of those things where, I think if you are guilty of something and somebody's like, oh shit, how do they know?
Right.
You know what I mean? I think it was a good idea.
Hell yeah. Took a risk. It worked. Nothing to lose. I concur with Matt. Circle gets the square.
It's an old show.
Yeah, it is.
Making their way to the flower bed with shovel in tow, they begin their search. Stella digs while Lisa serves as lookout. After digging down a couple of feet, they find nothing. But Lisa is still determined. So determined, in fact, that she takes it upon herself to scale the fire escape of Thorwald's building and sneak into his apartment. Jeff watches in frustrated angst and suspense as Lisa searches through Thorwald's luggage and his wife's purse. Stella returns to Jeff's apartment to explain Lisa's plan. They're briefly distracted by observing Miss Lonelyheart, whom they believe may be attempting suicide by ingesting a sizable number of sleeping pills.
The red pills.
Mm-hmm. Just as she is about to swallow a handful of them, Ms. Lonelyheart stops abruptly, hearing a song being played by the composer in the neighboring apartment. The song was beautiful enough to stop her from taking her own life. But this distraction has kept Jeff and Stella from keeping their eyes on Lisa in Thorwald's apartment. And lo and behold, we see Thorwald return while Jeff and Stella have been otherwise occupied by Ms. Lonelyheart. Frantically, Jeff calls the police. Thorwald enters his own apartment and notices that his luggage and his wife's purse have been given the once-over. He then discovers Lisa. After a short conversation between the two, the situation turns violent. Thorwald grabs her with clear intent to do her physical harm. Jeff is beside himself with frustration and hopelessness as he sits in his wheelchair while seeing his girlfriend in the clutches of what he believes to be a madman. Never fear. The police arrive at Thorwald's apartment just in the nick of time. Thorwald allows the police to enter, and both he and Lisa explain their sides of the story. Meanwhile, she had discovered Miss Thorwald's wedding ring during her search through the apartment and slipped it onto her own finger. Jeff and Stella observed Lisa making motions with her hands, pointing out the ring on her finger. But Thorwald sees Lisa's hand motions too. He swiftly realizes that Lisa is motioning to someone watching from the apartment across the courtyard, that apartment being Jeff's.
Mm-hmm.
The jig is up. Jeff and Stella have been discovered by Thorwald. While Jeff and Stella frantically pull together enough money to send with Stella to bail Lisa out of bail for breaking and entering,
Right.
they miss observing Thorwald swiftly leave his apartment after the police have left. Jeff receives a call from Detective Doyle. After explaining everything that had happened and hanging up, Jeff realizes that Thorwald has already left his apartment. Almost immediately after hanging up with Detective Doyle, Jeff's phone rings. He answers and, assuming it's Detective Doyle, continues to talk about Thorwald and his fears that Thorwald may be coming for him. But it wasn't Detective Doyle who'd called him. It was Thorwald, who says nothing.
Scary.
Jeff realizes his time is short. He knows Thorwald is coming. He can already hear footsteps approaching his apartment. The lights in the hallway go out. Thorwald will be at his door in a matter of moments.
Tense.
Jeff grabs as many flashbulbs as he can
For camping.
while he awaits his impending uninvited guest. Thorwald slowly enters Jeff's dark apartment as Jeff watches him from far across the room.
I like this scene.
Yeah,
Real quick, like it was very, because he's sitting there in his wheelchair. The guy's like, but it's like so dark.
It's great.
You see like
great.
the figures, and he's not moving because he can't move.
It's amazing to see how the light hits Thorwald, like he's shadow from like the head up, or from like, I'm sorry, the neck up, but then like down, you can still see from the light of the courtyard.
Right.
And then when you turn to see, Jimmy Stewart, looking at him because there's no light, all he is just as dark as Thorwald was in his apartment smoking his cigar.
Right.
Jeff grabs as many flashbulbs as he can while he awaits his impending uninvited guest.
He's shooting him with flashbulb.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm blinded.
Thorwald slowly enters Jeff's dark apartment as Jeff watches him from across the room. Thorwald makes every plea and inquiry of Jeff as to why he's doing what he's doing. Jeff remains silent at first, but when asked to help reacquire the wedding ring, Jeff finally answers and disappoints with news that the police have the ring by now. An enraged Thorwald approaches Jeff, armed with only flashbulbs. Jeff temporarily blinds Thorwald over and over again as he makes his way closer to him, but this can only last for so long.
Thinks he's a gremlin or something.
Yeah, so that was kind of, I don't know.
Cheesy.
I don't want to say it was lame or cheesy, but it was.
That's all he had, though.
That's all he had. He had that in a broken ass leg.
Yeah,
You can't kick him.
true.
No.
You use your good leg.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't you ever see my left foot?
Oh,
That guy did tremendous things
he did.
Yeah, you're
with
right.
his left foot.
Didn't he play piano?
No, that was the pianist.
You're talking Daniel Day-Lewis, my left foot.
Yeah.
He could smoke with his left foot.
Yeah, he could do anything with his left foot.
He could have kept him at bay with that big ass
And J.B. Stewart
That,
sitting there like a punk.
what do you call it, attachment on his camera.
Yeah.
He could have just
The lens.
Yeah, the lens. That's
Yeah.
what I'm trying to think of.
Yeah.
The lens. That lens was like 6 feet long when he was using the you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, as Thorwald finally makes physical contact with Jeff, the police, Detective Doyle, Stella, and Lisa arrive at Thorwald's apartment across the courtyard from Jeff's. Jeff cries out to them from his apartment's window. As Jeff and Thorwald struggle, the police race into the courtyard from Thorwald's apartment building. Thorwald overpowers Jeff and steadily pushes him further and further out of the same window from which he'd been observing the entire courtyard for weeks.
He overpowers him because he's in a wheelchair.
There's that.
Yeah.
There is that. Hanging on only by his fingers, Jeff eventually succumbs and falls. But fortunately, officers have made their way to the ground below and break his fall as he hits the ground.
Mm-hmm.
A quick thing on that. When you see the movie, it shows him there, and it shows like the stunt man, but he's like a story up. But then it shows when he falls like that. He's
I
like,
think he's falling forever.
no.
Like the Die Hard scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's falling like 30 feet when it, like he's only like, if he would have fell and just like, probably wouldn't have hurt himself.
I'd like to go back and watch that and like slow it down to see how they did that scene, because you could see there was something funky there with like the image of him falling.
Yeah.
I don't know, something looked different. I'd just be curious to slow it down and see.
Wait,
Like,
so that was certainly overlaid. That was
is that what it was?
the special effect as they could do back then, where they take, some kind of the frame by frame by frame by frame. They just cut out his body
And put it over
and
top
put
of
it over
then.
top of that,
I got you.
superimposed as it were.
Super.
Kind of like if you take a mouth and put it over a cartoon.
An Eskimo cartoon
Yeah.
with a wolf and a
Yeah.
mouse.
Yeah.
As the chaos in the courtyard calms, an officer alerts Detective Doyle that Thorwald is ready to confess and take them on a tour of the East River, where it's expected he scattered the remains of his wife.
So he chopped her up. Maybe.
Allegedly.
He did
Allegedly.
he did something.
Actually, I should say assumedly.
Assumedly.
And as for the dog in that flower bed, turns out that dog was right. After the dog's initial sniffing around, Thorwald dug up whatever remains had been buried there and placed them in a hat box in his apartment. A few days later, normalcy and calm have returned to the neighborhood. The couple whose dog was killed have gotten themselves a new puppy. After weeks of wedded bliss, the newlyweds are having their first argument.
Oh,
Ms. Torso's boyfriend comes back from the army.
the 4'8" dude.
She had a boyfriend after all of this?
Yeah.
But she wasn't doing anything. The guy came on to her like that. Yeah, she had all these guys over, but she really wasn't doing anything.
She
Like,
knew
if
what she was doing.
Yeah.
she didn't do anything. She had her man was overseas.
He was playing him.
Yeah,
She's a whore. I'm sorry. I got it. Look, her husband's off fighting the good fight, and she's
it
having
wasn't her husband. It was her boyfriend.
she's having gangbang
She's
parties.
teasing and stuff.
she has 4 dudes over for her tea.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was up with that couple with the bed outside all the time?
The older couple.
Yeah.
It was so hot.
They would just
Friggin'
sleep on the patio.
Yeah.
They didn't want to sleep inside because it was too friggin' hot.
It was
Maybe-
hot.
Made me think of that in Coming to America when he's out there. Good
Yeah.
morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, come on.
Fuck you.
Yeah,
Shut the
yeah.
fuck up.
Ms. Lonelyheart has since started a relationship with the composer, the one who'd
Oh,
written the
yeah.
song that saved her
Yeah.
life, and Thorwald's apartment is being refurbished. Jeff naps in his wheelchair, now with casts on both
2
legs.
broken legs, yeah.
But he seemed happy.
Well, beside him, Lisa reads a book titled Beyond the High Himalayas, and after seeing that Jeff is sleeping, she opens a fashion magazine. And that is the end of Rear Window.
The end. Yeah.
Fashion Bazaar or Bazaar.
First time seeing this, knowing, nothing about it other than it was Hitchcock and all that. I was, during the whole movie, unsure, and that's what he wanted. He wanted you to kind of believe him sometimes, but then think he's nuts, and that's kind of the vibe I got out of the movie was it took you back and forth and made you believe that maybe he's seeing things, and then, okay, maybe no, he's not seeing things. Maybe he's correct in assuming this guy murdered his wife.
I don't know. What I enjoyed about Hitchcock is how he can make things so simple and still make you, all of his movies, like it doesn't need the gore, the blood, you don't need to know who exactly the person is walking behind you, coming trying to kill you. It's just, he just uses your own mind and his stories to get you into him.
Absolutely.
I thought it was great.
That's, I agree on all counts, man. This is just classic, fantastic thriller, and it's brought to you by the best in the biz, Alfred Hitchcock.
And what I equated to for me is kind of like they say somebody never heard Led Zeppelin before, and they heard like a modern rock band, and they're like, oh, those guys are like, say, like a modern rock band. Oh, they're the best. They're so original. They came up, and then you hear Led Zeppelin, and then you're like, well, wait a minute. They sound a lot like, you know what I mean? Let's say like that brand new band that's not brand new band, a band that's out now. What the hell are they called?
I know the name.
Greta Van Fleet.
Thank you, Greta.
So you heard Greta Van Fleet.
Like Zeppelin, they sound like Zeppelin.
If you're a young kid and you heard Greta, oh, they're so original, that this sound, it's, the guy's voice, and then you hear Led Zeppelin and you're like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
This was done before, or they got the idea, not saying they're ripping off Led Zeppelin.
I'll tell you they are.
Yeah, they do sound a lot like Led Zeppelin. But for me, watching Hitchcock, I saw Psycho, obviously. But this is only the second. I think I saw The Birds, and this would be my third movie. But out of this movie alone, I've seen so many movies to me that I think were influenced, or directors that were influenced. Like I really kind of now watching The Burbs, I get a whole vibe of Rear Window. Like, oh, well, this is kind of like Rear Window. Different, but definitely influenced.
Fun fact, The Burbs just left Netflix at the end of April.
Oh, really?
It just left Netflix. That just breaks my heart. I mean, I have the DVD and whatnot, but I just hate when this goes the way of, when this movie goes the way of what was Revenge of the Nerds, which is now available.
Now it's on Netflix.
You could, I don't know if it's on Netflix or Hulu, but you can for damn sure get Revenge of the Nerds now.
How about that? Maybe our podcast made it happen.
Could be.
Because we covered it and called them out.
Hell yeah.
No, this is
Grill
just
marks.
Yep.
This is just giving me like I was looking up Hitchcock movies, and there's some that you heard, like Vertigo, The Birds, North by Northwest, but he has a shit ton of other ones that I'm sure are probably brilliant.
Now you guys, now you've seen Zap. I know you're a big fan, but Matt, what have you seen of Hitchcock? Have you seen all his movies, or are you in the boat like me where you've only seen
Hitchcock? I've seen Psycho, of course. I've seen The Birds and Vertigo.
That's it.
And now I added,
Rear Window. And Zach, you pretty much seen them all, or
almost all?
Almost all. Okay.
Yeah, he has. There's a lot.
There's a lot.
Like older ones too. Like one's Foreign Correspondent, Suspicion, Young and Innocent. I don't know. Secret Agent.
This is just me coming up. Again, I had my parents were way into Hitchcock movies, man. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if my mom went and saw this at the theater.
Oh wow, yeah.
So this came out in 1954. She would have been 14 at the time, maybe young, maybe.
Right. But still, yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
This one's here, like The Man Who Knew Too Much. I know that was like redone.
I like the one with Bill Murray.
The Man Who Knew Too Little.
Great movie. Yeah, definitely a great movie.
I'm currently holding on to your copy, and
that's right. Yeah.
I still have to watch it. If I didn't have to watch all these other things and read all these other things for podcasts, I would probably have watched it by now.
On it.
Sabotage is also Hitchcock. Sabotage.
I'm telling you all, it's Sabotage.
Listen, all y'all.
For real?
Yeah. That's 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, so it can't be bad.
That's crazy.
Well, I don't know. I think we're about ready for the fun facts.
Fun facts. So yeah, we talked about it earlier. This was a set that they built. It was on Paramount Studios in Melrose Avenue in Hollywood. But originally, they were looking at an actual actual location in Greenwich Village in New York. They were going to film it there, but then they decided to just
build your own.
Yeah, and just make it that way, which I'm sure didn't save them money. It probably would have been cheaper, I would assume. But
you think, but it's tough to nowadays, I mean, of course, like filming locations, you pay enough, fuzzles, you'll get whomever to shut down entire blocks of a city to film. Back then, I don't know if you could do that. And if you tried, how hard is it? Really, truly, how difficult is it going to be to keep out any interloper that wants to come in and just mess around with you and screw around, keeping out ambient sounds, keeping out all kinds of shit. I don't know. I think this was the smart play.
Fun fact on that, I'm glad you brought that up. Shout out to Officer Vince. He sent me this is kind of a mailbag item, but I thought this was pretty cool. There's a story that a local legend in his town where he lives currently, where he's a police officer, they're filming a horror movie there called Pig Hill. Okay. And it was the guy that played Leatherface is actually directing it or producing it or something like that. And they were shutting down the town. I think it's Meadville, maybe, the town that he lives in. He sent me a script sheet or a sheet from the movie, basically, on Instagram. He's like, hey, cool. Thought you guys might be interested in this. But talking about that, this production came in and basically shut down blocks and blocks of his town. And it was like a big disruption. They were filming there for, I guess a few weeks at least. So, yeah, shout out to Officer Vince on that mailbag item.
Dave, you were talking about the that set. That was, filmed, as you said, inside a Paramount studio.
Right.
That took 50 men, 50. Took 50 men 2 months to build.
Holy shit.
At a cost.
That's good work.
Yeah, at a cost somewhere between $75,000 and $100,000. So if that budget was $1 million, that
was only 100
10% of it.
10% of it went to the set.
That's not bad.
No, and that's not bad at all. Then P.S., the equivalent of that in 2022, just because I like to do that kind of shit, you'd be looking anywhere from like $850 to 1.1 mil.
I believe it. They said it were like 31 apartments or something like that were actually like
full functioning,
like full function apartments and stuff. Yeah,
they had running water. They said you could actually live on that set if you wanted to.
That was all of the apartments in Thor Wald's building.
Wow.
They had electricity and running water and could be lived in. Yep.
I wonder if they I wonder what happened to that set. You guys know anything about that? Like if they ripped it down or
do you have a fact on that?
I don't. I was just curious.
I got nothing.
I'm pretty sure they had to rip it down. I mean, after a movie in the 30s, I don't think they're just going to let it sit in some sound. I mean, they have plenty of them that they build. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
that would be good for the mailbag or something.
Some of the stuff they hold on to or repurpose or use it for other movies, I would just think maybe that'd be something they reuse. But
you were saying it was based on that Woolrich's guy. It had to be murder. The book. I think you said in the beginning. They said in the book that it didn't have Lisa or Stella. Those were two characters that were not written into the story. They did have like some dude that was like a housemaid that came to take care of them, and they said they really didn't like that vibe, and that's how they introduced the two women into the story.
Interesting. I forgot to mention in the very beginning, film dates on this were November 27th, 1953 to January 13th, 1954. So not like a super long.
Oh, man. 2-3 months. Couple 2-3.
Yep.
Oh, so you had all of those other apartments in the courtyard and stuff like that. Of course, the movie is only seen with the exception of the very last scene when Jeff falls out of his apartment.
Right.
That's the only time you see a different camera angle.
Yeah.
So with all those other actors and all those other buildings, I should say, despite that, Hitchcock only worked in Jeff's apartment. Yeah. So when he would give directions or anyone, I should say the actors and actresses in all the other buildings that were doing all that other stuff, they wore flesh-colored earpieces so that he could radio his directions to them.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. I did hear that one too. They said they used 1,000 arc lights to simulate sunlight.
Dang. It's a lot of lumens.
It would take the changeover from day to night would take about 45 minutes. So that was like a big ordeal to go through. Yeah, but
like the rain showers they probably had just.
Yeah, it was like a Truman Show.
Yeah. I did read one of the fun facts, or I guess not so fun fact, whatever, was before she was Princess Grace of Monaco, as you mentioned, they said Grace Kelly had there was a lot of rumors going around. She had a reputation for sleeping with her co-stars
Oh, for real?
and affairs. And I guess Jimmy Stewart's wife, when she played this, like she wanted to make sure she was around most of the time.
That's funny.
She didn't want them to be together that much.
Can you just imagine Jimmy Stewart's wife showing up? Oh, hell no. Who's that bitch?
Yeah, it ain't going to go well.
Yeah, but they said his wife was on set constantly watching for any signs of an affair or anything like that.
It.
Yeah.
Grace Kelly's from Philly too. I think she.
Really?
That's correct.
Yeah,
That's absolutely correct.
I wonder if like she called things John.
Probably.
If that was like a term back then. Jimmy Stewart, hand me that John over there. I gotta get.
But they said Jimmy Stewart would be like he wouldn't see his wife around or something. He'd like be really flirtatious with her, and his wife would walk in, and he'd like
play it off.
Yeah,
I was just acting, baby.
yeah. It's like I didn't mean anything.
I did not know that about the whore, Grace Kelly.
Oh yeah,
she's a harlot.
Yeah,
that's
strumpet. Dare I say?
What was in Hollywood? They said they would tell wives of famous actors, oh great, you better get on stage, girl.
Dang,
it's like put that booty.
That's just Grace Kelly from down the street.
Yeah,
Gracie from the block.
Let's see. Oh, fun fact. Alfred Hitchcock was nominated for Oscars 5 times. He never won one.
Bullshit. I call bullshit.
Alfred Hitchcock has never won an Academy Award.
That's terrible.
What?
Yeah, true
It's
story.
hard to believe.
Check them internets.
Yeah.
Miss Torso, she was the ballerina, right?
Correct.
She was 17.
Stop.
Yes.
Really?
Yes, I thought she was older too. Fun fact, she was 17 years old.
She's only 17.
Mm-hmm.
Daddy said she's too young.
No,
God bless you, Kip Winger. When do
know.
you stop giving?
I know.
Yeah, she just left her home for Brooklyn, and she wanted to pursue ballet. And Hitchcock met her, and he said, I got to get you on something.
So during the month-long shoot, Miss Torso you're talking about, she's
17.
She's 17.
She was 17.
And she lived in the apartment all day.
What?
Yeah.
I think it's called character acting. She wanted to be a part of
Method acting.
Method.
Yeah, she lived in her apartment and, relaxed in there and treated like it was her own home.
Yeah,
I guess
fully
to get into
functioning.
character.
Well, they had electricity and running water.
True.
Shit.
Yeah, why not?
That's amazeballs.
Yeah.
They also said the pianist was actually a real concert solo pianist in real life.
Oh, wow.
He played the part well.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The songwriter. Mm-hmm.
So when you guys watch this, one thing I really love about older movies, all of the credits, and I mean all of the credits, are at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
When the movie says the end, that's the end. Like there's nothing after that. That's done.
Right.
Yeah, what also happened to the all the stuff about the movie in the beginning of the movie?
Right.
That's done with all old movies too. Because the end now you see they go through 30 minutes, even rush it now in a little corner.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But they would introduce everybody the first 3 or 4 minutes of the movie in the very beginning.
Done. I miss those days.
It was cool.
It's fancy though. I like that's very, very cool.
It is classy.
Yeah, it's classy.
It's definitely classy.
So, around the time this movie started filming, Hitchcock was in probably the best shape of his life at that time. He had dropped 150 pounds and physically he was doing really, really good at his best. Yeah, because he struggled with weight all his, I don't say all his
He was
life,
very
but
round.
I know
He was
later
a portly gentleman.
he's a bigger guy, but around this time, he was feeling really good about himself and, he was doing well health-wise. He quoted as saying the batteries were well charged. He was feeling very creative and he was just feeling at his best. So, a lot of people say this is as great as work. And I think it makes sense.
It certainly is, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You said something earlier, Dave, about the couple that were sleeping outside on their porch there, or that's not a porch, landing. What is that called?
Fire escape.
Fire escape. They said that Hitchcock also enjoyed their characters, and for the scene that it started raining, where they're going into their apartment, he told one to act. He said, "Pull this way. I want you to put it in this window." And he told the other actor, the man, to pull to the other side. So during that scene, so it kind of looked like a struggle.
But they didn't. You're saying and the actors didn't know.
They didn't know. So he said, "Yes, I want you to pull this way. So I want you to try your best. You need to get it in there. It's going to be rain." They're like, okay. And the other actor, he's like, "I need you to get it in there as soon as possible because I don't want you guys to get wet." So the way he had it. And then the lady actually fell into the one side, and he thought it was hilarious, so he just left it in.
They left
That's
it
fantastic.
In yes.
God bless you, Alfred Hitchcock. When do you stop giving?
He just doesn't.
Fun fact. So Thorwald's telephone number is Chelsea 27099.
What's Chelsea mean?
So if you ever watch, and I Love Lucy, you watch anything like old. I don't know when the 7-digit telephone number came into existence, and then from there the introduction of area codes and shit like that in numerical fashion. But so back in the day, you watch anything, they'll say a word and then 5 digits.
Is that what that Transylvania 65000 was like that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
65,000.
Exactly. Okay. So with that Chelsea, and I forget what Jeff's phone number was, but again, I just remembered hearing the Chelsea 27099, and it was never 27099. It was 27099.
So it's Chelsea 27099.
Oh, okay.
So with that, I have on me, and I'm happy to pass this around, an old Zippo. Now that Zippo, look at the phone number at the bottom.
Oh wow.
Is it 939?
No.
It's OW 63591.
Yeah. That Zippo is 80 years old.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Does it work?
Hell yeah.
Zippos are very
You can smell that.
crack.
So that Zippo actually came, a friend of mine. Oh, a friend of mine I met through our friend Quarters, owns a coin op warehouse. He refurbs and sells his big pushes for jukeboxes.
Right.
Like he loves the old school jukeboxes.
Very
So he found this. What he does is he's a picker. So he and his wife go to any like old amusement place, any old warehouse, whatever that would have the equipment that they're looking for, and they just go and pick. Like you see that show, American Pickers.
Yeah, love that show. Yeah.
This dude and his wife do this solely for like jukeboxes, old amusement games, shit like that.
That's cool.
So he came across this one John in Westchester, Pennsylvania.
Look at that.
The old Apex Amusement Company. He was clearing it out and came across the Zippo, gave it to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
That's really neat.
So it's and as soon as I hear that number in this movie, I just
right
know
away.
that
Yeah,
Start
that's
thinking
on that
about
Zippo.
that.
a real number.
I never knew that about the letter numbers or the word numbers and stuff like that. When that movie Transylvania 65000, I never understood the name of that. I haven't seen it in years, but I remember the name of that movie was always weird.
So when Zippo was around early 1900s, I know the factory's here in Pennsylvania.
It is in Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
and I know Zippos for damn sure were around for World War II.
Yes.
I don't know how far back Zippos go. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes back as far as World War One.
I'm sure. I know it's like super old.
So like we talked about the book or short story or whatever that kind of influenced. There was also some real life influence on this movie. Are you guys aware of that?
I had no idea.
So yeah, in 1924 there was a murder case in Sussex, England. A guy named Patrick Mahon murdered his mistress who was pregnant, and like Thorwood in the movie, this guy dismembered her and hid her in a large trunk. So I guess Hitchcock got that story out of a newspaper or whatever. And then also there was a tale of Dr. Crippen, who in 1910 he poisoned his wife, cut her up, and told police she moved to L.A. It was the jewelry of his wife showing up that ended up like getting him caught.
Huh.
Yeah.
That guy was straight crippin'.
Yeah, so I think it's something similar where they found her wedding rings and other jewelry, and they were like, "Well, wait a minute, if she went to LA,
she would have took her stuff."
Yeah, it ended up.
See, Lisa was right. What kind of woman leaves her place without her purse and her wedding ring?
Right.
True story.
So those real life incidents were inspiration for Hitchcock.
I
guess,
feel
to make this
inspired.
movie. For sure.
Zippo
yeah.
was 1932.
Bang.
When they started.
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
Cash me outside. How about that?
That's interesting. Yeah, that's a cool piece, though. Definitely is.
Yeah, man.
And just goes to tell you craftsmanship. That thing's still working.
Hell yeah.
You know. And
That's
same
like
thing with this
That's
movie.
America.
Yeah, the movie's still
working too. You know what I'm saying? I'm a brand new viewer of this movie. I will say now, being older and later in life, I probably appreciate it more than if I saw it like earlier in my 20s or whatever. Now I can look at a movie and kind of appreciate more of the the acting and storyline and stuff like that instead of let me see explosions and whatever else like that. Yeah, definitely enjoy this movie.
Did you know there was another Rear Window made recently
yeah, it was
about
like a TV movie or something?
about a gentleman who was in a wheelchair?
I didn't
Does anybody
know.
know who this person is?
Are you talking about Superman?
That's correct. Christopher Reeves played after he got in that accident. He played Rear Window.
So they redid. So this was the one. To be clear, this was a remake of Rear Window.
Called Rear Window.
Okay, called Rear Window.
Reeves.
Same story. Same
exact story.
Okay.
He's in a wheelchair. It's the same story.
Well, so
I did a quick fast forwardy.
I ask with such specificity because in 2007, a movie came out called Disturbia.
Yeah.
Which is
that was with
a modern day retelling with fucking Frenchie LeBeau.
Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf. Thank you. under house arrest, but instead of being laid up with a broken leg, and he believes his neighbor is a serial killer rather than committing a
murder.
I saw Disturbia. It was actually now basically ruined, but it wasn't as cool.
No, I think this movie works so much too because now with modern technology, with cell phones and different things, the whole suspense of her being in the apartment and he's not able to get a hold of her, like now you could just be on a cell phone, like, yo, get out, he's coming or whatever else like that. This being that in the 50s, there's no cell phones. You're writing letters, you're doing shit like that, and then you're writing letters to the guy.
Technology.
Yeah, technology. Exactly. That screws everything up.
50s is a time for crime.
Yeah, like Chief Darrell said, you do some shit nowadays.
It's on 30 cameras.
Yeah, with technology, and he's got some guys. He said, like with your phone tracking and all that, you're not getting away with anything.
Nope.
So yeah, but yes, I did hear that about that movie. I do remember seeing Disturbia. I don't remember liking it that much.
It wasn't very good.
But I'm sure that it couldn't have been as effective as this was.
No, hell no.
No, just it makes
you can't touch the OG.
No,
it makes me want to go back and watch some more Hitchcock movies just to sit on I can see like a rainy Saturday, Sunday afternoon.
Hell yeah.
It's a good
Bunch
good
of
watch.
Flavored pretzels.
Yeah.
A couple of beers.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah, right.
Incredible.
So that courtyard in the movie, I thought this was a pretty interesting fun fact. They actually had to tear out the floor and go into the basement. So the actual courtyard you're seeing is actually in the basement of the studio, like to give you that many levels of to build it up that much. That's why I thought it would even be more than 100,000.
Yeah, look,
but I was kind of surprised by that.
People were
50 men, 3 months.
So number one, no union back then.
You're talking 12, 14-hour days.
People worked a hell of a lot. People would work a hell of a lot more for a hell of a lot less.
7 days a week, I'm sure they worked.
So
they probably got off a little earlier on Sundays.
Yep.
To go to church.
Or look at Miss Grace Kelly.
No, they probably had off Sundays. They probably worked Monday through Saturday, probably from around 6 to 6.
Nobody worked on Sundays back in the day.
No, you didn't work on Sundays. Hell, that was earlier on in our lives in the early 80s into the mid 80s.
Yeah. There was a lot more than just Chick-fil-A that closed on Sundays.
Yes, right. Everything was closed.
The streets were empty and stuff. Those are the type dudes that sit up on scaffolding with their lunchbox next to them. Those type guys.
I know the picture you're thinking of.
Old school guys like that.
Yep.
They were working and putting this together.
Maybe that's the idea for our picture. We get the three of us sitting on a steel beam up on a scaffold somewhere.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. We should do that.
With like a bunch of old VHS tapes lined up. Yeah. One side's like off balance.
Yeah.
I like that idea. For people that are wondering, we're contemplating here at some point separating into 2 podcasts. So as you're listening to us here at Vintage Cinema Review, we're thinking about making a move here. So coming up with some ideas.
You say making a movie?
No, making some moves. I said here. You know what I mean? Always looking to improve and kind of dial in what we're doing. So if you have any good ideas for a logo, hit us up. Any designers out there, anything like that?
Yeah, please. Please hit up that old dirty mailbag. Send us your ideas. We need a picture. We need something that we can do for our next photo. What do we do?
Yep. Or anybody's good animator. We always talked about doing animated versions.
Yeah, animated version would be cool.
Caricatures.
Like a caricature.
You can do that on the on your phone now. Like we could get something.
I want to do that cartoon with the voices, with the mouse.
Dude, I'm all for that. Absolutely cool. All for that.
Clutch Cargo. We got to do that one.
That sounds like a great band name.
Yeah.
Right?
That sounds like a great.
Well, there is a Clutch.
1950s cartoon.
Yeah.
It is a great cartoon.
Clutch was just in Harrisburg, I think.
I think they were,
Club XL or something,
But this was the 8th highest grossing film in 1954, which there must have been a lot of good movies that year.
That wasn't.
I don't know what would be. I mean, I don't see
nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the year before Marty McFly traveled back to the past, so I don't know what came out in 1954.
You're right. Yeah, 55.
Yeah,
that's right. You guys got any other fun facts we're missing on this?
I got nothing.
Other than good.
It is to me a sacrilege that Alfred Hitchcock never won an Oscar for anything.
That is amazing because, I mean, watching this, like I said, I was really impressed with his techniques and filming, and I'm like, who's doing better than this back then?
Well, the fact that, this guy made stuff that like we as kids, even through today, like, so let's just say as kids, we knew this guy's name. Everybody in the known universe knows who the hell Alfred Hitchcock is.
Do you think he was viewed back then as like, oh, that's kind of like taboo stuff? He's talking about murder.
Possibly
and
the
that,
Quentin Tarantino of his time.
Right. Like, oh, this is too violent. I mean, they didn't show anything in this, but they're talking about chopping up a body or alluding to that. If back then people were all so stuck up on like, oh, you can't talk about that. You know what I'm trying to say? Like almost because he's dealing with the macabre and like that type of stuff.
But not really. I don't think it was
to
more
us it's not, but back then they're probably like
kind of like Edgar Allan
voyeurism and murder and all this stuff. Maybe people back then kind of frowned on
so
his
like
film.
rock and roll, it was like the devil.
Right.
But they said in 1954, some of the top grossing movies, Rear Window, you said was 8th. On the Waterfront, that was with how's that guy's name? The guy
Peter Fonda.
No.
That's on Golden Pond.
No, from The Godfather. Like
Marlon Brando.
Marlon Brando was in On the Waterfront. White Christmas, A Cane Mutiny.
How did I not know? I thought White Christmas was 55. All right.
A Star is Born, which is done 2 or 3 more times.
Yeah, Lady Gaga and stuff.
The Country Girl, The Barefoot Contessa. I never heard of these movies, but there you go. There's a bunch out.
She's on
20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
The Barefoot Contessa. Yeah.
20,000 Leagues.
Apache. So there you go. There's a lot of every year has a bunch of movies.
I wonder if Apache had a guest star on Clutch Cargo.
He might have been on there.
Apache featuring Clutch Cargo. Best actor, Clutch Cargo.
Clutch Cargo.
In a TV short.
Yeah, how about that?
I want to do just reviews of Clutch Cargo, individual cartoons.
100%.
Like we could just go through them all and like review them all.
We can do Clutch Cargo, Johnny Quest.
Johnny Quest would be fantastic.
Yeah. Like 80s cartoon review. Yeah, that would be a good idea.
So Johnny Quest, I think, was 70s.
Yeah, it was.
For damn sure. We saw it on a rerun style.
Late 70s.
But so just like Scooby-Doo. Like you watch Scooby-Doo way back, like let's say we're watching it when we're growing up in the 80s, right? We were watching episodes, I promise you, that had come out in the 70s. I promise you.
Oh, yeah. Well, think about cartoons like Tom and Jerry was out when this shit was out.
Yeah,
Rear Window,
the 50s and 60s, yeah.
Oh, fun fact. Don't sleep on this. On Saturday mornings on Me TV. I don't know if you get that channel with the old YouTube TV.
I don't have YouTube. I have it right now, but it's paused. I'm using antenna.
But
I do have Me TV on
so
the antenna.
So on Me TV, Saturday mornings, you will get Saturday morning cartoons.
Oh, shit.
But you'll get the Bugs Bunny and Looney Tunes. You'll get an hour of that. You'll get an hour of Tom and Jerry. You get an hour of Popeye and the Pink Panther. I mean, it just keeps on giving.
How about a picture of us like eating bowls of cereal and watching cartoons with like an old school TV?
Cool. Sure.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be a cool logo.
I will come up with Firecracker, Shish Boom Ba. Bugs Bunny, rah, rah, rah.
That's right.
Yeah, they're classic.
I used to like those. Yeah. They used to play when we were like, if I had a day off of, not day off of school, like a sick day or something. I remember on like, I don't know if it was channel 33 or 43.
It was 43.
I'm talking back in like the 80s. Yeah, they used to play like
Bugs Bunny all day.
Yeah, Bugs Bunny
all day. Yeah, that was Fox 43.
Yes.
Yeah. And they were the first, I think the first, in fact, I'm almost positive. Fox was the first network that would syndicate cartoons after school. They were the first ones to have after school cartoons.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, but Zach, man, I appreciate you recommending it. Well, I guess Matt kind of did too.
Yeah, thanks for this goes all Matt.
Matt kind of brought it up during Pulp Fiction. And
it was discussed. Zap said he was into Hitchcock. I said Rear Window might be fun.
Yeah, we kind of threw that in here. I'm glad we did. It was cool to watch. I know we'll be back next week. I think we're getting back to the list. So we were talking about, I think it was Strange Brew is coming up. And, So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Ooh.
Which I haven't seen in a long time. If I ever did see, that's Mike Myers.
Mike Myers.
Yeah, so I think maybe your wife kind of recommended that one. Yeah. Put it on the list. So cool.
She sings the one song. It's like, woman, whoa, man.
So why?
Michael Myers, he's good in it.
Well, I like him. So, Rear Window, there was a skit on SNL. You talked about SNL. Did you see the skit on there with Jason Sudeikis? Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, so go on SNL, look up SNL Rear Window. Okay. It's a funny skit. And we'll be back next week with, one of those two movies. Yeah, for sure.
Movie.
It'll surely be something.
Yeah. So don't forget to find us on Facebook and Instagram at Old Dirty Basement and on TikTok at Old Dirty Basement Podcast. I guess that's it for now. So we'll catch you where?
On the flip side.
If we don't see you sooner, we'll see you later.
Peace. Thanks for listening to The Vintage Cinema Review in the Old Dirty Basement. If you dig our theme music like we do, check out the Tsunami Experiment. Find them on Facebook. Their music is streaming on Spotify and Apple, and where great music is available.
You can find us at Old Dirty Basement on Facebook and Instagram, and at Old Dirty Basement Podcast on TikTok.
Peace.
We outie 5000.